Hi everyone, my name is Matt Brostek, and today we're going to be looking at atomic energy between 1973 and 2023. So I'm going to begin with the Chernobyl accident, which occurred in 1986 in Ukraine. The power plant had a failure due to flawed Soviet-era reactor design, as well as staff that was not trained properly. It scattered radioactive waste as far as Scandinavia. It's estimated 5% of the reactor core was released into the environment during the disaster. 2 workers were killed that night due to the explosion, and 28 were killed over the next 2 weeks as a result of acute radiation syndrome. So there are obvious cons to nuclear energy. Disasters are very dangerous when they take place, ecologically and personally. In a study by Cardis and Hatch in 2011, they examined significant increases in pediatric thyroid cancer in Ukraine and Belarus in children aged 0 to 4 years. Iodine-131 is the main part of fallout, and it's a compound that's rapidly absorbed in the thyroid glands. EER per GY is a measure of radioactive absorption. A CAT scan is 7 milligray, for reference, and in Belarus, they recorded levels of 8 grays and 19 grays in Ukraine. In another study, Russian workers with an average dose of 109 milligray were found to have increased risks of cerebrovascular disease and increased stage 1 cataracts. They also found increased risks of leukemia and heart tissue mutations as well. Another study by the Fukushima Health Management in 2016 found the same prevalence rates as the studies I talked about before. Thyroid cancer in children aged 0 to 4 years, they determined came from the drinking of contaminated milk. I would next like to look at what factors we can put in place in order to keep nuclear power plants safe to operate. V.A. Sudorenko in 2013 published a series of papers laying out nuclear safety and the guidelines to keep them safe. He lays out his defense in-depth strategy. That is the maximum reduction of damaging factors that could put a power plant at risk. Things such as lowering the reactivity margin of fuel, pressure, or the temperature. He also made a point that nuclear power plants should have self-quenching mechanisms, so these systems need to be able to turn off by themselves without any operator intervention. This was not the case at Chernobyl. He also lists the use of natural and self-regulating processes, reducing emergency failures or damage to the system. He also harpens a max increase in the time lag of processes, which can help monitor and shut down abnormalities before they get worse. In his article, he also talks about changes in production, such as using water as a primary coolant is now being rejected by many nuclear power plant safety committees due to its high potential energy when put under pressure, and also the potential for radioactive steam to be released into the environment as well. There are also some doubts about using sodium as a coolant, as it's highly flammable and has a high chemical reactivity when it reacts with water. So that sounds like a lot of negatives. So why is there this discussion about nuclear power at all? Energy.gov reports that there are only 92 nuclear power plants that operate in the United States. Those 92 also account for 19% of the electricity production. Plants produce 1 gigawatt on average, and that's equivalent to 3.125 million solar panels or 431 utility-scale wind turbines. It's also clean energy. The splitting of the atoms produces heat, which is used to boil water and turn wind turbines. So it's a lot of power that it can produce, and it is very green. Additionally, the National Energy Institute says that a 1,000 megawatt plant only needs 1 square mile to operate. It says that wind farms need 360 times the land required to produce the same amount, solar 75 times. So nuclear power plants are compact and they produce a lot of energy. Another concern is where to store nuclear waste. Thankfully, nuclear fuel is extremely dense. The same report says that all 60 years of our waste could fit into 1 football field at a depth at less than 10 yards. There's also been tech innovation in power plant designs. For example, NuScale's SMR, Small Modular Reactor, has a passive safety cooling system that Energy.gov calls a walk-away safe, no requirement for the operator to shut down the system. There's also the creation of TRISO fuels, which are resistant to high temperatures, well beyond the failure thresholds of our fuels today. So they're safer and they're more efficient. We know nuclear power plants are extremely dangerous when they fail, and the risks, not only to the environment, but also the people living in the regions, are extreme. In light of this, I would say nuclear power is one of the best solutions we have to our carbon emission problem. I think it's vastly safer than it has been. I think it's a solution for now. I might argue that it's the best solution, just due to how much electricity it can produce, the small likelihood of failure, and the new technology that's coming out that's making them even safer. After these accidents, there's been a lot of review, and every year we get safer and safer on the side of nuclear. For that reason, I think that nuclear power is a good alternative. That's not to say that the potential problems with nuclear shouldn't be addressed, shouldn't be talked about, but I feel like they are safer and they produce more power than ever. Thank you very much.